This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the British super-welterweight champion, Troy Williamson. Troy, how you doing?
Oh, good mate. Just chilling. Just had the dog out. I've got my bath running, so just
Happy
chilling.
days. Yeah. December the 2nd, big fight. Northeast rivalry, you and Josh Kelly. You obviously came up in the amateurs, not too dissimilar times. There's not a massive gap in age, but he's always been below in weight. Did you foresee this fight coming together at some point?
Eh? No, not really. Obviously until I knew that he was obviously stepping up to 154, but now obviously when I first turned pro and when he was about, I never thought the fight would happen if I was completely honest. But yeah, it has happened and we're ready to go December 2nd.
Is there much history between the two of you? Like, have you kind of grown up through the system together? Have you been friendly or otherwise?
Yeah, like we've travelled on the train to obviously London and flown over to different countries, against different in tournaments and WSB things like that. And I was up in Sheffield, week in week out with him. So yeah, wouldn't really say friendly, but obviously I've always been close to him as in the amateurs and obviously spoke to him in the past.
And before he came on your radar as an opponent, what had you made of how his career was panning out? It's been a bit of an up and down one for him.
Yeah, as obviously they had a lot of big expectations on him. Obviously at the start of his career, he's a superb talent. Obviously, I respect him as a fighter. He's a quality fighter. I just don't think he's. What's the word? I don't think he's just. I don't think he's. I don't think he's. From how they've pushed him and what money they've put into him and given all these opportunities, I don't think he's fulfilled his potential. That's what I was looking for. Obviously, I know he went over to America and he got that draw with Ray Robinson, was it?
Mm.
And obviously come back and he obviously got a beating off David Avenation, but these are top level fighters, so can't take nothing away from him. I do think he's a great talent, he's a great fighter, but I don't think he's fulfilled his potential. If that's what I was looking for, that word.
Have you ever kind of thought and compared his journey to yours in that you were at the same sort of level as an amateur, but you haven't really had that kind of investment or the profile maybe that you should have had?
No, definitely not. But I think that was obviously him being an ex-Olympian. I think obviously because he come off being an ex-Olympian. Obviously that's why they pushed him that high, and obviously he's got a massive following on social media. Good looking kid. So yeah, obviously they pushed him obviously to be the next best thing. Obviously I haven't had that. I've only just started to get the recognition that I believe that I deserve since I knocked out Ted Cheeseman. But before then, nobody even knew who I was, and I wasn't getting no airtime on TV. I was first fight on, or like last fight on after the main event. I was just getting no publicity whatsoever off me previous opponent, promoters and things like that. So I've had to do it the hard way from me first. Obviously, right at the start of my career, I was selling tickets to pay for my opponents. Sometimes I was boxing for 50 quid. Like I was paying for my opponent, going halves with the promoter, like the local promoters to get on the show, and then I was doing a full camp, paying for me, obviously my nutrition, paying for supplements, training gear, hotels when I was going sparring. I train in Middlesbrough and Stockton, so I travel up and down the A66 every single day, and I was boxing for pennies. So I've had to do it the hard way, and obviously that kept me humbled. It's kept me on the right path, and obviously it's kept me hungry.
When you defeated Cheeseman, you obviously weren't particularly happy that you had to go to an away show to do it. Great performance, though. This time around against Josh Kelly, again, it's on his promoter's show. It's on a Wasserman show. How do you feel about that now?
It doesn't really bother me. It didn't bother me against Cheeseman. A ring's a ring. To be fair, whether it was whether I was in the away corner or home corner, I don't feel no pressure in that, and it doesn't really bother me. It's in Newcastle, so it's like being at home, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so for you than for him, I guess, with him being from Sunderland because of that rivalry. Would you expect to have the bulk of the support?
Yeah, definitely. I've got massive support. I've got obviously support from the whole of Darlington, Teesside, Newcastle. I've even got support from Sunderland that have been messaging me saying, I've got people messaging me saying, "Oh, we're from Sunderland, but can we order 10 tickets from you?" Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I think I'll have the book. I'll have the majority of support in there. I'm looking forward to it.
And from the outside, a lot of people characterize it as, the faster guy, relying on his movement. You're the naturally bigger, stronger, bigger puncher. Is that kind of how you see it panning out? Or because obviously you can box as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Obviously, a lot of people just think I'm just like all like no brains, all blonde. Like I can box myself, and we're going to see on December 2nd because obviously I've done a lot of sparring with Josh Kelly as the amateurs, and obviously he knows what I'm like. I know exactly what he's like, so it's going to be a very interesting fight, and obviously a very interesting fight. One that I'm obviously very confident in winning, which I'm confident in every fight. Just off obviously the work that I put in. So yeah, you're gonna see like a bit of a box fighter on December 2nd. I'm gonna box. I'm gonna fight when I need to.
Were you surprised that he took this fight? Obviously, you've got the British title. That's a great belt to win. But aside from that, he seems to have a lot to lose. He's already had that crushing defeat against Avanesian. Now he's going up against the bigger guy on great form.
I know,
What
but like, what route could he have went? What other route could he have went? I couldn't really think of no route that he could have went to fight for the British title. It's a massive fight. It's big. It's huge for British boxing, but with us both being from the northeast, it's huge. So it'd have been very disappointing if he did pull out of it.
How do you see him kind of since he's moved up to 154? He's had two fights so far. How do you think he's adapted from being down at 147?
Um, we haven't, to be honest, we haven't really seen the best of Josh Kelly at 154. In my opinion, the last couple of fights that he's had at super-welterweight didn't look too great, but I know that he's a lot better than that. So people are obviously looking at that last performance, but I wouldn't take nothing away from that because I know he's a lot better than that performance.
And you had a bit of a rocky one, it's fair to say, against Mason Cartwright. Got the job done ultimately. Is that a case of getting up for it to an extent? Obviously, this is a huge fight, Northeast rivalry and so on. Last time out, you had to defend your title, but maybe not as big, and the spotlight certainly wasn't as bright.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say I didn't get up for it. Obviously, I was bound for it, but without getting into it, I had a few personal problems outside that, like about 10 days before the fight. Obviously, I had a bit of personal issues, but like you say, obviously, I didn't take that into well. I'm saying I didn't take it into the ring with me. Obviously, it was on my mind,
Mm.
and it wasn't a great performance. It took me about 6 7 rounds to get into the fight. So yeah, it was a close fight, but one that obviously I believe I won. Um, and yeah, obviously we just move on from there, and obviously I expect a better performance than last time.
And I was looking at the odds earlier. It's pretty much a nailed on 50-50 with the bookies. Is that kind of what you expected?
Yeah, I expect yeah. Obviously, you can't say just because I'm maybe a natural bigger guy and a bigger punch, you can't just obviously put me as favorite. Like all elite, like when you're at the elite level at this sort of, they're all going to be 50-50.
Do
You're
you
never
have a
going to have like
preference, like being the favourite or the underdog? Do you find one better than the other?
don't really look into it if I'm honest. That's a mistake I made about with the Cartwright fight. Obviously, the bookies had me a massive favourite. People were because people didn't. I've never heard of Cartwright. Obviously, they must thought, oh, Troy's just gonna walk through and he's gonna do this. He's gonna do it. But it was the same as with Cheeseman. Obviously, before the Cheeseman fight, nobody knew who I was, so everyone thought Cheeseman was gonna walk through me. So that's exactly what people thought with me against Cartwright. So I learned a lot from that fight. Obviously, not to like listen to other people's opinions.
Now, if Josh Kelly were to come through on December the 2nd, it reignites his career. He can move on from there back to the world scene, I guess is what they'd want. What do you want if you beat Josh Kelly on December the 2nd? What does it do for
Oh,
you?
it's massive. It's huge for me because I'm only one more win away from winning the title outright, which is that's it's always been a dream of mine. So I'd love to win the British title outright. So obviously, me full focus on beating Josh Kelly on December 2nd, then hopefully get out early in the new year and win the title outright, because I'm 31 now. It's obviously I can't hold the weight forever. Not struggling to do the weight, but
I was going to say you're sitting there snacking a minute ago, so it can't be that bad.
Now weight's all good now. Obviously, I've had like a 10, 11 week. I'm always in the gym. So when we first found out this, it was like 10, 11 weeks of a bit ahead of schedule. So, but I say if I can get out early in the new year, defend the British title again, win outright, and then move on.
You've both got quite high WBO rankings. How much do you look at the world scene? Because you still want to win the British outright, but do you have a kind of one eye on it?
Well, yeah, definitely. Obviously, I'd love to be. That's what you're in the sport for, to be a world champion. So I'm always keeping my eye on. I wouldn't say the rankings, but it's funny enough you said that, because I got them sent today. But yeah, I do keep an eye on obviously the rest of the division on the world scene. But right now, obviously, I'm fully focused on Josh Kelly.
You got Charlo, who's number one. Obviously, has all the belts at the moment. What do you make of him? I know you're not going to fight him like next fight, but what do you make of him at the moment?
Yeah, obviously he's a great champion. He's a good fighter. Looks big for the weight. Big punches. Obviously, I've heard that he could be moving up. So if he moves up, then all the belts are going to be scattered. I think I'm ranked in 3 of the governing bodies. So who knows? I could get some sort of eliminator once I beat Josh on December.
Do you think Josh will be willing to meet you head on December the 2nd?
To be honest with you, he's like, as much of a slick boxer he is quite game, and I do think when he gets tired, he'll plant his feet, yeah. But I don't think early on. I think he'll try and box me early on. But when he does get tired, which I think he will do in the middle rounds, I think he'll plant his feet and he might have a go, yeah.
How bothered are you by the method of victory? Like if you get a stoppage or a knockout or you have to go the distance, does that bother you either way?
It doesn't bother me, because I know that I've got 12 rounds in me. I can do 12 rounds at a good pace as well. So, and I'll be preparing for a hard 12 rounds as always. So whether it goes early or it goes a full 12, I'll be ready. Oh, it's absolutely massive. Like as obviously I was about to say, I've ordered over 1,000 tickets, or 1,300 tickets, and I haven't even got them yet. And just my phones, my DMs are bombarded. People have transferred money into my account to reserve them. It's going to be absolutely huge. I'll sell a lot of tickets for this, and I'll have a great support going forward.
Who are your kind of Northeast role models or idols in boxing when you were growing up? Who was on the scene then?
I started boxing when I was 17, believe it or not. So obviously when I first started boxing, I was watching the likes of Pat McCormack, Joe Forster, things like that, like, and thinking, fucking hell, I'd love to be that good. But and I was like, and I'm older than them. I'm older than them. Do you know what I mean? So obviously I started like when I first started boxing, there were they'd run all sorts, schoolboys, junior championships, and everything. So professionals, there wasn't. I can't really remember any professionals when I was a kid growing up. Stewie Hall, he's one of my friends. He was the next world champion. But obviously that was like just as I was getting into it, so I wasn't really a kid then.
So you could be, you know, if all goes well on December the 2nd, you could be one of the biggest boxing stars as a professional, certainly, that the Northeast has had for some time.
Yeah. Never really thought of it like that. Well, obviously, just Savannah Marshall doing great things.
Of course. Feel bad.
One of them.
Yeah, one of the biggest male stars of the past few years. Sorry, Savannah. But yeah, it must be like even more of a motivation. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're proud of where you come from, and I get the impression you are, you get to represent them, you know, ultimately on the world stage.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I'm proud of where I'm come from, and I'll never forget where I've come from. Doesn't matter whether I was right at the top of the sport or right down the bottom. Obviously, I'll never forget where I come from, and I'll never forget who's helped me to get where I am.
Great stuff. Now, just before I let you go, tell people out there how they can find you on social media so they can find out a bit more about you before the big night.
Yeah, well, tickets go on sale tomorrow. I'll have them in my hand next week. So you can get me on Twitter Troy Williamson _ and Instagram Troy Williamson _. I'm also on Facebook. Just search my name on the search bar and drop me a DM, and I'll get back to you.
Great stuff, mate. Really appreciate your time. Really looking forward to the fight as well. And yeah, let's catch up again beforehand.
Perfect. Cheers, Danny.